So Barcelona is going to be hosting Cadiz tomorrow night, and surprisingly, Barcelona have yet to win Cadiz at their home. Like, we have not seen Barcelona beat Cadiz at the Camp Nou, which is very surprising. Like, ever since Cadiz were promoted into the first division back in 2020, do you know who has the better record between Barcelona and Cadiz? It is Cadiz, because in the past 5 meetings, Barcelona have only gotten 1 win, 2 ties, and they have lost against Cadiz twice, meaning that Cadiz has more wins against Barcelona than Barcelona have against Cadiz. Now, I would like to believe that the main reason why Cadiz were able to have a better record against Barcelona as of now, it is because Cadiz have taken advantage of the Barcelona that we were 2 to 3 years ago. We were a very broken Barcelona, spiritually, sportingly, financially, like everything. Barcelona were just not the same club, and we were getting beaten by the small clubs for a good while. But now, seeing that Xavi has took over, this is a brand new Barcelona, and there's a very big reason on why Barcelona were able to defeat Cadiz 4-0 in the very previous meeting. Now, of course, there were other factors, like how one of the fans had a medical emergency, and maybe one of the reasons why Cadiz did let go of like 2 goals in the span of 10 minutes, it is because they were out of focus. But in the end, Barcelona were able to beat this team, and now I think that moving forward, we will not be seeing Cadiz tie against Barcelona or Cadiz beating Barcelona at the Camp Nou. We won't be seeing that. I think that tomorrow night Barcelona is going to be winning, and by a huge margin. I would like to believe that Barcelona can beat Cadiz 5-0, because if you can beat them at their home 4-0, it should be no less than 4-0 at the Camp Nou, and we should give these fans a great show after what we have witnessed against Manchester United. The fans, they deserve so much better. And so the Cadiz that we have been seeing so far this season, they have not been great. I remember the last time Barcelona played against Cadiz, which was again regarding that 4-0 win for FC Barcelona. At that time, Cadiz did not even have a single win so far in the season. They couldn't even score a single goal by that time, and so they were really bad when Barcelona were facing them. And since then, since that match where we have again won 4-0, Cadiz have only been able to win a total of 5 times until today, right? Between that game and until today, they have only gotten 5 wins, and so they are one of the worst teams. And especially in terms of the possession, they only average a total of 40.7% of the possession. They're in one of the worst teams that concede goals, which is 1.6 goals per 90. They are in 3rd to last place. They are in the bottom 4 in goals per 90. They only score about 0.8 goals per 90 minutes, and they are at the very bottom in terms of shots on target. Their shots on target right now per 90, it is 2.7. So they are very inefficient, I would say. I am very confident going into this game. Xavi desperately does want to win La Liga, because look, if we really think about it, the last time Barcelona won La Liga was back in 2019. If we do not win La Liga this season, it would be a total of 4 years without Barcelona winning La Liga, and that is embarrassing. And we're gonna have to wait until the summer of 2024 to understand who would be the winner of La Liga for the 2023-2024 season, and by that time it would be a total of 5 years. And so we don't want to expand that even more. We want to win La Liga this season. And the reason why I'm kind of like leaning into this conversation is because now, seeing that Xavi Hernandez clearly does not really rate the Europa League, and he wants to be heavily rotating and switching his defense completely during the Europa League, and especially against Manchester United, it's just showing us that yes, Xavi Hernandez does want to win La Liga. He's going to give it his all in this game against Cadiz, and so there is going to be no rest for the starters at all. Like, his strongest 11 that he does have, he will be placing them against Cadiz, even though Cadiz is one of the weakest teams in La Liga. And I think that, you know, Xavi's preference is so strong that I just feel like he would bring his best possible 11 against Cadiz only because it is in La Liga, instead of bringing his best, strongest 11 against a team like Arsenal or Manchester United, and only because it is the Europa League. So it's something really crazy to think about. And the other conversation that I do want to have with you guys, it is going to be regarding the injuries and the suspensions, because man, let me tell you, is there so many injuries and suspensions going on. And let's start with Pedri. Pedri will not be in this game. Of course, he did have an injury against Manchester United, which is the reason why he had to come out very early. So he does have a hamstring injury, and he will be coming back most likely around the mid of March, maybe just in time for the Clásico. And the same thing for Dembélé. He does have a muscle injury. Most likely he could return in the beginning of March, or maybe late February, and that is best case scenario. But the aim right now for Barcelona and Xavi Hernandez and the rest of the sporting staff and the fitness staff is that they want to bring in Pedri and Dembélé just in time for the Clásico, and we'll see. As for Sergio Busquets has been called up to the squad list. If you guys look at the squad list, you can see that Sergio Busquets is on the list, and I still think that yes, he is still injured, which is very surprising. And I have a feeling that the reason why he is there is because I don't want to say that the sporting staff are trying to force force Sergio Busquets into the squad, but I feel like they're trying to push for his return because they desperately need Sergio Busquets, and that's never a good thing. To like push a player to make a return after coming off of an injury is never a good thing. They can always get re-injured, but it just seems like Xavi Hernandez is saying, look, just get into the squad list, everything's going to be okay. If we really need you, we'll call you, but just be in the squad list because we might need you, depending on how the game does go. And let me tell you guys, if this player is getting called up and he does not start against Cadiz, then he's definitely not ready. He's just there just for the sake of worst case scenario. As for Araujo, he has basically volunteered to be suspended. I think that Araujo intentionally wanted to get another yellow card in the previous match so he can miss this match and not potentially miss the match against Almeria, which will be away, or maybe against Valencia, which will be at the Camp Nou, or maybe even Athletic Club, which will be an away game. Araujo wants to be available for all of those 3 matches, which is going to be very important. So seeing how these players are going to be away from this match, or some players are going to be sitting out, or seeing how some of these players will be suspended, the starting 11 is going to look a little different. Now, during the press conference of Xavi Hernandez, he wanted to uplift his players. He was praising Ansu Fati, he was praising Lewandowski, he was basically praising the whole squad. He understands that yes, there is some sort of injury crisis, very similar to what happened back in October, but he still believes in his players. And one of the players that he wanted to uplift was Pablo Torre, and there is a very big reason on why he is aiming for this player, and this is what Xavi did say. Could we see minutes for Pablo Torre? And this is what Xavi said: everyone has to be ready to play. Pablo Torre has to be ready. We will need him at any moment. And so seeing that Pedri is going to be out, we have lost some sort of creativity in the midfield, and I think that the only player that can in a way replace Pedri, not completely because Pedri is a gem of a player, I think that the closest player to Pedri, it is Pablo Torre, which is the reason why Xavi Hernandez is giving maximum confidence to Pablo, because eventually we will be seeing this player. And he has always been a very interesting profile because he does have like 80% of the intensity of Xavi. He does have also 80% of the creativity of Pedri, so he's a good mix of both worlds. So I do expect him to receive a good amount of minutes. As for Araujo, again, this player will not be available, meaning that Eric Garcia could be replacing this player, and Xavi has also uplifted Eric Garcia, and this is what he said: I'm being unfair with him. He always trains well, he never complains, and is always positive. Eric deserves more minutes. And I think that Eric Garcia has to step up, like with Araujo not being in this game, with Marcos Alonso dropping his level little by little, making some mistakes here and there, right? He's not a horrible center back, but seeing that Alonso has dropped his level slightly, Eric Garcia has to take advantage of that. We have not seen Eric Garcia on the field in a very long time, and surprisingly, Eric Garcia has been having a great season under Xavi Hernandez. I remember what he did in the first 4 months of the season. He was phenomenal. So most likely we will see Eric Garcia start against Cadiz, and this is what's most likely going to be happening tomorrow night. This is going to be the 11. Ter Stegen in goal, Koundé as the right back, Eric Garcia and Christensen as the center back duo, with Alejandro Balde as the left back, our midfield being Pablo Torre, Frenkie de Jong, and Kessié, and our front 3 being Xavi, Rafinha, and Lewandowski. Now, of course, it does seem a little awkward right now because of the way that these players are positioned, but again, Xavi Hernandez will be going for the 4-man midfield because that is simply just undefeated. Xavi will be inverting himself into the midfield with Pablo Torre, meaning that Pablo Torre and Xavi will be the high interiors, with Frenkie de Jong and Kessié being right behind Pablo Torre and Xavi, and acting as a double pivot with Alejandro Balde going up there, forming a front 3 when they are attacking with Rafinha and Lewandowski, and then our back 3 being Christensen, Eric Garcia in the middle with Koundé as the right center back. It's going to be very interesting, right? Because I want to see what Pablo could bring to the table with him being right next to Xavi and basically taking the place of Pedri. As for Kessié and Frenkie, we have already seen that if they form a double pivot in the back, because I just do not see Sergio Busquets starting. If they do form that double pivot, we have seen it. Sometimes when Kessié steals the ball and he lends it to Frenkie, Frenkie drives the ball forward. If Frenkie steals the ball and lends it to Kessié, Kessié also drives the ball forward, and they both do that very well. So it should be a very interesting and a very entertaining game coming from Xavi Hernandez and his players. That will be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.